All right. Well, good afternoon. So appreciate you all joining me after lunch for a short talk here. So I'm Will Standiford with Intelligent Wellhead Systems. And I want to talk to you this afternoon for a few minutes about safer completions and better completions, really through, digitization of the completion process. So let's get started. So at IWS, there's really nothing more important to us than safety. And so I thought this picture was a great start to this discussion. So if you're from the drilling side, which a lot of people here are, Corva had a lot of drilling customers to start, this is what a stimulation site looks like. So a ton of iron strung together like a spaghetti ball. And really what I see here is a lot of points for potential failure or opportunities for enhancement of safety and efficiency, right? Through digitization of what this system looks like and how it functions going forward. So completions probably isn't at the maturity level that drilling is, whether it's the digital infrastructure like the data we supply, or in terms of the standardization of operations. So in well construction, which I have a much longer background in than completions, pretty much we know what kind of vendors are going to be out there. The industry's gone through consolidation. And so you see a much smaller constellation of providers to aggregate and optimize. On the completion side, particularly in U.S. land, that is not the case. And so as this image conveys, there's a tremendous amount of complexity, but at the same time, there's a tremendous opportunity for optimization. So let's talk a little bit about Envision and Corva. So this is Corvacon, great event, pulling this all together, really driving the industry forward in terms of digitizing and gaining efficiency and optimization. So what does Envision bring, or the Envision technology platform from IWS? So we really offer the operator reduced risk, lower completion cost, and improve uptime. And we do this through a few pieces of technology. We do this through valve position visualization, valve control, valve management through a business process management layer. And then we also collect data at the completion site, aggregate it, and transmit that so that it can be used in analytics and business intelligence. So on the Envision side, for the service companies, we also offer better performance, utilization, profitability. I'll show you a case study. But when we put well site instrumentation together with basically analytics and BI, you can see that there's a tremendous amount of value creation. And again, I think the difference between well construction and completions is on the well construction side, we have standards for data aggregation and transmission through WITS and WITS-ML, which have been around for 20, 30 years. On the completion side, that is not the case. And so it makes analytics and BI much more labor intensive and much more challenging to execute. So here's a quick look at what we offer through the Envision technology system. So I'll sort of start on the left and move to your right. So on the far left, you can see that's the data van or the TCC for the frac unit. That would be a data input source. Then we have some accumulators there in red, and that's where we would put our valve position sensors or our valve lockouts on those valves. Then we have what you see labeled as the PCE HMI, but what I want you to remember today is hot dog cart. So when you think of Envision, you can think of the hot dog cart. That's what we call that. But it basically has the pneumatic lines and some of the intelligence that runs to our valve control sensors. Then there's a hub that has servers, edge computing, and our telecommunications technology. And then sort of on the right, you have the wireline truck. And we put the hub in the middle of this picture because you can see there are several pieces that need to be aggregated to make this sort of instrumentation and control environment come to life. So this system really prevents inadvertent valve actuation. So if you're not familiar with completions, the valves are typically actuated manually. There's a lot of valves. They're rigged up different every time, and as crews change, you can have accidental valve manipulation or incorrect valve manipulation that results in pinching wireline or high pressure events that drive MPT. This system digitizes all the services into a common platform and also enables what we call a digital handshake. So with the Envision system, we basically distribute computing devices to the TCC, the wireline truck, and the company man. And what happens is when we go to change the stage of activity, each one of those parties has to enter a code or basically a control mechanism that unlocks the valves. And so the valves are basically prevented from actuating until they get through the business process management layer to unlock the valves. I'll show you a case in a minute. You might say, wow, That's going to waste a lot of time. It would be a lot faster if we could just run up to the manifold and actuate the valves. I don't want to waste time on safety. Why would I do that? But I'm going to show you in a few minutes that it actually helps the frac move along much faster, decreasing the well swap time and increasing the pump time. And of course, it ensures transparency between operations. So the wireline provider knows what the guy on the accumulators is doing, the company man's doing, what the TCC is doing. So it digitally brings these parties together to better execute their operations at the well site. As a side effect of collecting and aggregating all that data and making the controls implementation at the well site, it also makes a rich data set available for analysis offsite. And so on the left is a picture of basically an offsite screen. This is our screen, but a lot of our customers use Corva because Corva has this rich analytics and BI layer that can be layered on top of the data that we acquire. And that's really, really important. So we're really focused on the instrumentation and control at the well site. Companies like Corva are more focused on the BI and analytics that are associated with long-term efficiency and optimization. So I have a video. We'll see if it runs. I don't think it's gonna, I'll try one time, then we'll move to a slide. So this is basically a time lapse of what a frac looks like. And you can see here that we have 4 wellheads. And just sort of notice, you'll see the valve position indicators changing. And so through our instrumentation, we have an electronic representation of each tree, and then we can see the valve positions being manipulated as they go along. Again, there are 2 pieces to this. One is basically a sensor that observes the valve position. The second piece is we can put a lockout on there to prevent valve actuation without the business process management tool. The third evolution of this that will be launched in about a month is we also have valve actuation technology. So very shortly, we'll be able to automatically execute a sequence of valve actuations through the digital technology. So right now, again, you can either see what's going on, you can lock out and ensure that when I do unlock that they execute the valves in the right order. In the future, you'll be able to push a button and actuate a sequence of valves that are compliant with your SOP to ensure that you executed the frac correctly. So this is a static version of that. And again, just keypad up here is how each party in the business process management layer authorizes their consent to proceed to the next stage. It's kind of interesting because a lot of people have said, oh my gosh, that's really old. Those must be boomers with the touchpad or whatever. It's true. We could use facial recognition or voice recognition or thumbprint recognition, but the reality is our customers prefer simple. The number pad works, and so we use a simple code just like your ATM PIN that says, hey, I'm ready to sign off. I'm in the wireline van. I agree that we can proceed to the next stage. I put in my code, and again, everybody moves ahead without having to have a team meeting around the accumulators, which is consequently in a zone of high pressure that we don't want to be around unless we have to. Try and get advanced. So here's a quick case study. From left to right, what you're looking at here is on the x-axis are days, so day 1 through 14. On the y-axis is time. And so these are swap times. And so the first grouping of 3 wells, you can see that the swap times were running about 9 minutes. So this is prior to implementing valve visualization and valve management. Once we adopted Envision, there's a training phase or a learning curve like everything in oil and gas where everybody gets used to using the pads to control the valve actuation and processes. And then you can see once we get to optimization, we're down to about 4 minutes for the swap time. So almost 5 minutes, over half of the swap time cut off through instrumentation and digitization of a control layer. And if you go back to the first picture I showed you for safety, remember these are very, very complicated operations. It's a lot for the human to remember exactly what needs to be done each time. The digitization of this process really removes the burden from the human, right? Such that they're just executing like a checklist as they go along, with absolute certainty that the computer is ensuring that there's not a mistake made and we don't have a high pressure interacting with equipment at the wrong place and wrong time. So digitization really adds value. It's not just about better control and sort of, preventing humans from making the decisions. Few quotes from operators. So again, one word, safety. That is high pressure equipment. I think we're all aware we're getting ready to go through another super cycle. The oil field, if you haven't been here very long, some of you haven't, I can tell by your young faces, others of you a long time, but we only have two speeds in oil and gas, basically stop and all out. So you were in the stop phase last year where nobody knew if we had a job and oil was gonna be at 30 forever and our business was doomed. And we're currently about to enter the all out phase where it's all green hats. I'm too busy to do anything. I don't have enough people. Pay is unlimited, but no time off is available for any of you. So I think during this time in particular, these types of digitization and automation technologies are absolutely essential to keeping our people safe as we upscale operations. We need the computers to do more work. The computers are very good at this kind of work. When we pair analytics from a company like Corva with controls and instrumentation from a company like IWS, you really get exceptional results out at the field location, which is what we're looking for. Haven't had a single accidental shut-in. Why? Because computers really don't make mistakes. If they do make a mistake, we fire the coders, like where did Antonio go? So we fire the developers, we fix the code, and then they never make that mistake again. And so again, once you codify business process management layer with your SOP, you can really sleep easy that the humans are not gonna be able to circumvent that SOP without disabling a lot of intentional safety barriers along the way, right? So no accidental shut-ins. Recommend Envision anyone that's on the fence? Yeah, you're recommending that someone saves money and improves safety, so it's a great combination. So this one didn't have. So let's just wrap up. Envision, we digitize the workflow. We have the instrumentation and process monitoring and process control on site for SOP compliance. We also basically acquire and standardize the high frequency time series data. So again, we don't have WITS or WITS-ML for completion, so the mnemonics are all different, the frequencies are different, there's no context to create alignment between wireline and what happens in the completions van. So by being part of the field instrumentation, we can standardize all that and then push it up to Corva so that you have this really nice data set, an enhanced data set that you can then do the BI and analytics on. I didn't have time, I don't have the slide. So the reason we were sort of asked to talk today is we've recently built an app, which I have a screenshot of, but I can't show you because it's not on this one. So maybe find us afterwards. But our valve visualization technology, right? Normally that's available at the well site through our systems. And you could also view that through a separate sort of GUI that comes with our system. But if you want to view our valve position technology or access our control technology through Corva's interface, we're using Dev Center to build applications. So if you're a Corva customer, you love their analytics, love their graphic output, now there'll be an app available that you're able to basically access the Envision technology through the Corva interface. And again, do all your BI and analytics there with some better visualization and tools from our instrumentation and process control. So about a week, I think it'll be out. Week, maybe 2 weeks. And with that, I'll take questions. That's all I have for you today.